Some shows talk about one team. Other shows barely talk sports. This show will talk Packers, Brewers, and Bucks every day. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily with Steve Sparky Fifer, served up by Wendy's on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Download the Wendy's app today.
See Sparky Fifer. Charlie Usen, other side of the glass. He is the birthday boy today. Happy birthday to Charlie Usen. 52 today for Charlie. God, he's aging in front of our eyes. It's crazy how long he's been here.
Not as fast as you, baby.
No, I'm going on like 80 at this point. If you're 50, I'm going on like 80 myself. Coming up this hour, we are going to get to Bucks Wizards from last night. We haven't talked about that at all throughout the show. Things that we missed on today's show coming up at 4:40 as well. We're going to get to the green and gold update coming up too. Tomorrow night, the injury report came out for the Bucks today. Mitch Thundernell passed along from the Mason Crosby show that Kevin Porter Jr. listed as out already for tomorrow night with that ankle sprain. If it's an ankle sprain and that's all it is, that's fine. But that team cannot afford to be without Kevin Porter Jr. for like 3 months or 4 months or something like that. You saw last night, he was playing well, very well. And we'll get more into this at 4:20, but he was playing very well last night. So we'll talk more about that coming up at 4:20. But first, we got to get to this like we do every day at 4 o'clock.
It's time for your green and gold update on Wisconsin Sports Daily, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network with Steve Sparky Fifer.
All right, time for our green and gold update, as you heard, brought to you by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. So we talked earlier in the show, the very, very first segment of the show at 2 o'clock. We talked about Rodgers yesterday saying, it's not a revenge game. And we asked you to view the Steelers game the same as, say, the Trader and the Cubs against the Brewers, right? In the playoffs, where everybody wanted to bury the Trader and booed him and all of that stuff when he came on the field. You don't get to boo Rodgers because he ain't coming to Lambeau. Some of you may be going down to Pittsburgh to boo him. That's fine. But everybody else doesn't get to boo him necessarily. Now, with that being said, there still is our guy versus our old guy mentality. When Brett Favre came back and he was with the Vikings, and we had Aaron Rodgers, that was a jacked up situation because there were fools. And yes, I'm name calling. Fools that were wearing Vikings Favre jerseys, sitting in the stands at Lambeau Field, loving and worshiping Brett Favre at his feet, cheering for him and booing Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. There were little kids holding up signs going after Aaron Rodgers at that first training camp when he left on his way to the Jets in that trade. It was horrible, I tell you. Horrible. That is not what this is. But in the same regard, I think everybody wants to see Jordan Love outplay Aaron Rodgers at this point. How much does it matter to you as a fan if Rodgers outduels Love on Sunday? So when we get the Green Bay football postgame show, starting at 10:30 on Sunday night, brought to you by our fine folks at Lakeland University. When we're on the air, Tommy Wirtz and I, Sunday night at 10:30. Is it going to be a big deal if Aaron Rodgers throws for 325 and 3 scores and Jordan Love throws for $175 and an interception and not much happens with the offense? But meanwhile, Aaron Rodgers is carving up the Packers defense. Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Find us on the socials at WI Sports Radio. For me, it's going to be a big damn deal. It is. It's going to be a big deal to me. I want Jordan Love to at least match Aaron Rodgers. Now, this cat's already thrown 5 picks. Rodgers has. Rodgers threw 2 picks last week. Rodgers has multiple games with 2 interceptions this year as well. So this isn't, in my opinion, Aaron Rodgers in his prime in Green Bay throwing like 4 or 5 picks for an entire season. That's not what you're getting here. The other thing that we know is that this Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line isn't a bunch of great offensive linemen where it's going to be hard to get pressure on Aaron Rodgers. If I was guessing, I would guess this team gets at least 2 or 3 sacks on Aaron Rodgers. Maybe more than that. But they're going to get after Aaron Rodgers. And what do we expect to see happen? Well, I expect to see similar to what Flacco did, right? Short passing game, quick slants, stuff like that to keep the pass rush off and to try and catch the Packers napping a little bit and not playing discipline. Some of that, I think, is what you're going to see from that Steelers offense. That makes a lot of sense. They're going to try and get that ground game going for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But again, there's not some Hall of Fame running back there supporting Aaron Rodgers at running back either. So that shouldn't be necessarily being.
Jaylen Warren isn't
he's
a
good.
slouch.
He's really good. I'm not saying he's horrible.
Pat Freiermuth at that tight end position isn't a slouch.
Okay, fine. But to me, it's not Saquon, right? It's not a for sure Hall of Famer. He's a really good player. Maybe he'll end up being a great player, whatever. But I think coming into this, it's still about stopping Aaron Rodgers, making sure DK Metcalf doesn't put up 150. I'll tell you my bigger concern going into this game, and we'll do Confident, Concerned, and Curious at 2 o'clock tomorrow like we do on every Green and Gold Football Friday. Pat Freiermuth is my concern. And Freiermuth doesn't have big numbers at the tight end position for the Steelers. Had a touchdown this last week for the Steelers. But this Packers defense gives up 6-8 catches seemingly every week to a tight end this year. And the one thing I know about Rodgers, he doesn't like going down the middle to Freiermuth. And you would think that Hafley and LaFleur know that, so they're not going to maybe worry about it as much. And then I think he's going to take advantage going down the middle of Freiermuth. That is my main concern right now. Not even Metcalf, because they normally don't give up big games to wide receivers. But getting beat with that tight end where Freiermuth puts up 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns, that is not going to be good.
I don't usually do this. I know most people don't usually do this. I'm starting 2 tight ends in my fantasy league because I picked up Pat Freiermuth just for this game. Because I am that concerned about it too. I don't think the Packers can guard that. I think Aaron Rodgers knows that. And it's going to be a game where, yes, he talks like it doesn't matter, but it matters a lot to him.
Absolutely. Again, he's beaten every team but the Packers in the National Football League. He wants to say when he's done, he's beat everybody. And you said earlier today that Rodgers did a Zoom with the Packers media, and Rodgers said he wants to finish his career in Green Bay.
That is what he said. He said that it started in Green Bay and that one day he hopes to finish it in Green Bay.
On a one-day contract. You are not playing here anymore. It's over. Maybe he wants to come back to be a quarterback coach for Matt LaFleur or something like that. I'd be okay with that if we're being honest. If Aaron Rodgers says, I want to be a quarterback coach, cool. I have no problem with that. Would you have a problem with that?
No, I think I'd be okay with that.
I'd be completely fine with it.
You think he just wants to be a quarterback coach? Have you met Aaron Rodgers?
Maybe he wants to be a head coach. I don't know. But I mean, how many of these great quarterbacks ever go on to be NFL head coaches? I don't feel like it ever happens. None of these guys, Montana, Elway, Marino, all these recent guys, none of these guys ever went on to be head coaches. Bradshaw's another one. None of them. They never do. So I don't think that's going to be what Peyton Manning's another one that could go do it if he wanted to. Haven't seen that yet either. So I don't think there's any want to do that. But maybe as a position coach, something like that, I'd be open to Aaron Rodgers coming back to being a quarterback coach. You're not playing here anymore, but I'd be open to being a quarterback coach. How much does it matter to you if Rodgers outduels Love on Sunday? Nicolay Law, talking text line 414-677-1250. Vern in Waukesha, you're next here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. What's going on, Vern?
The quarterback coach. You're not playing here.
Vern, come on, man. You're a veteran. You know better than this. Turn your radio off, Vern, or turn it down if nothing else. And then I can bring you back up here. Oh, Lord Almighty! All right, so we're gonna. Do you think I've gotten to that point now where I'm officially telling him to? Because he's still listening. I heard me say Vern in Waukesha when I went to him. Radio's got to be off or turned down. They always tell you, don't tell people to turn off.
And then he hung up on me, so I don't know.
Vern in Waukesha, call back. This is the thing. They always tell you, don't tell people to turn off their radio. And my response always is the same thing. Do you think they're not going to turn it back on after they get off the phone with me doing a sports talk show? I just want to make sure that they're not, because what happens is, if you don't understand this, I should not have to be doing this, but what happens if you don't understand this is, if you're trying to listen to me on the radio while I'm trying to talk to you, you're going to realize quickly there is a gigantic delay between what you hear on the radio and what I say. The reason for that is they call it a dump button in radio. And that means if y'all swear or say something that could get us sued, I can dump it and nobody ever hears it. And it's gone into oblivion and nobody ever gets it. That's why it never matches radio, what you're listening to and what you're seeing. Same as radio delay and TV delay are much different. TV delay is normally longer than radio delay. So if you're listening to a radio play-by-play broadcast and you're watching a game on TV, what happens? You hear it on the radio, you text your buddy, dude, what a great home run by Churio. And your friend's like, you're an idiot. I haven't seen it on TV yet. Thanks. And then a couple seconds later, boom, Churio hits the home run. And you're like, whoops, sorry about that. But then once you know you have that advantage, then you just consistently tell your friend everything before it happens until he turns off his phone and starts ignoring you.
That's Apple has an app on their phones now where it's like sports app and it gives you live sports updates on your home screen and stuff. So you can put all your favorite teams. And that is always ahead of every sports game. So they always update and it buzzes me when it happens. And it makes me so angry because it buzzes. And I'm like, oh, it's a notification for something else. And no, it's telling me that the Bears just had a 30-yard touchdown while I'm watching the game. I'm like, okay, that's rude.
Absolutely right. And then I would uninstall that. I would never have it on my phone.
I like
again.
having it because I don't always get to watch the game. So I like having the score there to be able to pay
you're
attention.
working on Sundays usually at the brewery or whatever. So how big of a deal is it to you if Rodgers outduels Love on Sunday? Nicolay Law talking text line 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. It is a big deal to me because I know in the Green Bay Football postgame show, I'm going to get flooded with people that want Aaron Rodgers back and want to get rid of Jordan Love, because those people I'm convinced are still out there. The people that don't like Rodgers are still, loving on Aaron Rodgers. I do not want to give them the benefit of being able to have, something to add on to it. That is one of my main fears in all of this. I don't want to deal with that aspect, Charlie.
You really don't think people are over Aaron Rodgers after the 2 years in New York? I know he's having an okay season right now.
If Jordan Love loses this game and Aaron Rodgers outplays him, and it's decisively outplays him, yes. Mark my words, the next day on Monday on this radio network will be filled with people texting and calling about they should have kept Rodgers, that Jordan Love wasn't as good as I knew he wasn't that good. Because those people that don't like Jordan Love always are waiting to jump on and pile on if he doesn't play well. Now you're going to give him the guy he replaced and he gets beat by him? Are you kidding me? That's like an early Christmas present for these people.
Yeah, but it's also a guy that he replaced that is also probably going to retire at the end of this season. Like that's where we're at right now with Aaron Rodgers. This doesn't feel like he's got any more future left in him. He's 800 years old. He keeps talking about how this is pretty close to going to be the end if it is not the end. I mean, yes, I understand wanting to have that nostalgia for an Aaron Rodgers and not liking Jordan Love. I think there's a lot of things about Jordan Love to be concerned about still right now too. As positive as he's playing, there doesn't seem to be a very high ceiling with a player like Jordan Love in my mind. I get people to want to be concerned about that. But this shouldn't be a Jordan Love versus Aaron Rodgers discussion. If you have that concern, then it should be, well, what's the next step to help preserve the future of the Green Bay Packers? Because Aaron Rodgers doesn't do that. And if you don't think Jordan loves that, then you have to look other places as well. It can't be going back to Aaron Rodgers or saying, look at the good old days. You have to figure out how to move forward now if you don't think he's the option. And it can't be about Aaron Rodgers anymore.
That's absolutely right. That seems sensible to me. That does not mean that's what it's going to happen if they lose this game one way or the other.
Sensibility isn't always a virtue for people who just watch their favorite team lose to a guy that they don't isn't their quarterback anymore. Yeah.
I mean, put it in Bears context for you. If the Bears lost to Justin Fields and the Jets, and Justin Fields throws 3 scores and Caleb Williams throws 2 picks and they lose, what are Bear fans going to say? Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? He plays well now that he's not in Chicago. And now I got a guy that we gave up that guy for, and he's not even as good as the guy we gave up. Bears fans would lose their minds if that happened, because a lot of Bears fans didn't want to give up on Justin Fields. A lot of those people didn't want Caleb Williams to begin with. And now you give them ammo. Same thing here with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. Hey, are you up for a game? Potawatomi Sportsbook is right there with you for all international games and matches. The Midwest's best sportsbook opens early. Place your bets, kick back, and enjoy the show on an absolutely enormous video wall, 2,000 square feet. Then grab a cold one along with food from a menu packed with flavor at the Potawatomi Sportsbook Kitchen. They have 48 beers on tap, a dozen different specialty cocktails, all-day brunch, burgers, wings. They got the John Kuhn platter. Too much food for me, but you all can take on the challenge. I am, yes. So y'all can take on the challenge to do that. Homemade pastries and desserts. It's amazing. Not up for watching the game, but still want in on the action. You can wager on any sport, anytime at the quick service kiosk. Bet above the rest at the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Coming up next, we'll talk about that Bucks-Wizards game last night. What did we learn last night? What did you learn last night? It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky here. Welcome back, Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network Studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. See Sparky, Fifer here. Charlie Hughes on other side of the glass. Nicolay Law, talk a text. I got a text coming in from Ben in Wausau. First, LOL on the delay with the radio explanation. I've explained that to the, quote, older crowd all the time. As far as how big of a deal that love outduels Rodgers is, it is a big deal. In fact, and some fans want to have that finality of moving on from 12 to 10. Yes, there are those who still haven't moved on. Basically, that final torch pass. If Rodgers outplays Love, some will freak out unnecessarily because they are still not sold on Love and stuck on Aaron Rodgers. That's exactly right. That's well put, Ben in Wausau. And I appreciate you listening in Wausau on 93.9 The Game. You also can check us out in Duluth, Superior, 710 The Game, in Green Bay on WNFL 99.7 FM there. And, of course, in Milwaukee on 1250 AM and 105.7 FM The Fan. That's what makes up the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Keep in touch. Always feel free to call in or text. As I always say, I prefer calls because I like the banter going back and forth, but text messages are good too. I want to talk a little bit about what happened last night in that Bucks-Wizards game at Fifer Forum. Yesterday, we had Peter Fagan, president of the Milwaukee Bucks. I told Peter Fagan yesterday, as I told Eric Name, the Bucks beat writer for The Athletic the day before, I am fearful that I'm going to absolutely hate this product that I'm going to have to watch on the floor because all they've been talking about the entire time has been shooting up threes early in the shot clock, shooting more threes. Like that has been a constant theme from all of these guys throughout. And thankfully, that is not what it turned out to be. We had plays like this one right here.
Giannis with the kick out. Look at that up fake. Oh! What a hello! Milwaukee will keep you.
Wow. He turned that thing sideways, Miles Turner. Went through the defender on the baseline. What a start for him.
Kevin Porter Jr. jab step knocks up the three-pointer. What a start for the Bucks. Forces the Wizards time out an 8-0 run.
8-0 run, highlight courtesy of FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin there. And you saw Miles Turner play against them. You also saw Miles Turner trying to play outside. First three attempt was an air ball. And as I've said before, and I will say again, whenever the Bucks played Miles Turner, I always said on every show, let him shoot as many as he wants. Yeah, he may get hot for a game, but I'll take my chances that he's not going to be hot. I don't feel really any different here. I'm okay with him taking 5 or 6 threes a game if that's what it's going to be. I do not want it double-figure threes from Miles Turner. I'd prefer not. I'd prefer him to, again, be that guy that gets out and runs, throws down dunks, plays inside a little bit. I'm not quite so sure his post game is as refined or as good as Brook Lopez when Lopez was going strong back in the day. And then they just ignored it once he got to Milwaukee. But I am interested in that. I also will say that it was not nearly as awful as I thought it was going to be to watch. I never got annoyed watching it. I got annoyed at the beginning of the second half because in the beginning of the second half, when the game was in control for the first half, it was missing threes left and right. And the lead was shrinking. And I'm going, now this is what happens. Live by the sword, die by the sword, as they say. And they're about to die by the sword if somebody doesn't hit a three to break it. And then Gary Trent finally hit one in the corner. Then Gary Trent hit another one. And then they were able to kind of get a little bit of separation. But the Wizards never went away. The Wizards were hanging around to the end of that game. And credit to them, credit to their coach and all of that for keeping that thing going. But I was relatively happy. The ball movement was good. There's a great piece by Eric Name of The Athletic talking about Miles Turner and his ability to move without the basketball and how it just naturally opens up shots for others. And it's something that he learned playing in Rick Carlisle's offense about how important that is and how it's kind of second nature to Miles Turner. And then Name shows the video and all of that other stuff of how it helped the Bucks. So that's another aspect that will help the Bucks going forward with that of Miles Turner. You saw him block a couple of shots in that game. That also was was nice to see from Miles Turner. So the question is, what did you learn from last night? That's all I know. What did you learn from last night? Nikolai Law, talk a text line, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy. Sparky with you. Birthday boy Charlie Houston, other side of the glass. What did you learn last night, Charlie?
The one thing, or the biggest thing that I learned from the Milwaukee Bucks last night, is that Kyle Kuzma can do what Giannis does. I think
you better clarify that quickly.
Not to the same level that Giannis does, but I think he can fill that role that Giannis leaves when Giannis is not on the court in situations here. And with Kyle Kuzma coming off the bench, this is something I was asking for them to try out in the playoffs, and they just never really went with it. They loved running Kuzma and Giannis together, but I've been saying that Kuzma has the same kind of build as a younger Giannis does. He's obviously not as jacked as Giannis is now, but it took Giannis a lot of work to get to that point. But he is lanky. He has this ability to be able to be a really good help defender and can be a really good on-ball defender too if you allow him to be. And if he plays a downhill style of basketball instead of trying to sit in the corner like he consistently does, he can be a really effective offensive player as well. And what we saw in spurts in this game last night was that Kyle Kuzma can do that and is willing to do that if the coaching staff forces to do that. The other problem is that in spurts last night, we saw Kyle Kuzma do Kyle Kuzma things, and it didn't really look like he was the same player all the time on the court. If they can continue to put him into this spot where he is kind of the light Giannis, or Giannis light, as Camille Davis put it on Locked On Bucks earlier, I think this is a situation that the Bucks can really rely on him to come in and fill that role that they usually are missing when Giannis isn't on the court.
As Marcus Johnson on the broadcast was pointing out last night, he is 6'9" and long, right? And from that perspective, he can defend multiple positions because he's got quick feet. He can move laterally, stay in front of guys. He can block a shot occasionally, too. Offensively, as you point out, is where the issue becomes. And if this team is greenlighting everybody to shoot threes, I don't see why it would be any different for Kyle Kuzma. I agree with you. I'd much rather see Kyle Kuzma playing out in transition, getting the ball cutting to the hoop, trying to get the and ones, playing through contact at the rim. You saw that a little bit last night. That probably is his strength at the end of the day. And you'd like to see that kind of moving forward. The one thing that annoyed me, if we're being honest, last night was there was a play where I think it was Kevin Porter Jr., and it was earlier in the shot clock, and he took one from like 15 feet, and he missed it. And Marcus Johnson is like, I love Marcus. Hi, Marcus. Marcus Johnson's like, well, that's a three-point shot. I'm okay with it, but I don't know, from a mid-range. Here, I'll clear it up from my standpoint. I don't want it 3-point or mid-range. You can screw all of that early stuff early in the shot clock. I don't like the early three. I don't like the early mid-range. I'd rather work the ball and get your shot. That's my perspective. The Bucks' perspective is they love the early three, and nobody in the league likes the mid-range anymore. So that goes along with everything else that we know about the NBA. I'm saying from my perspective, I don't like the wide open, the open three early in the shot clock, especially if you don't have help behind you coming to rebound the ball. Now, if everybody's down and you take it, and now Turner's got a chance, or Kuzma or Giannis to get the rebound, that's different. But if we're running down, jacking a shot, and you've got three guys still behind you, and they've got three guys under the rim, no, I'm not a fan.
One of the other things I learned last night, which was more of a negative thing, is that my fears of the Bucks being one of the worst defensive teams in basketball, I think overall, is going to come true this season. Giving up 120 points to a Washington Wizards team that is not very good offensively is a little scary. And there's a lot of guys on this team, and I talked about this yesterday, that get a really try hard award. You give them points for wanting to go out there and be aggressive and want to play hard. But Cole Anthony and Ryan Rollins in games like this, where they both struggle with the penalties early on, or the fouls early on in a game like this where they really shouldn't. And then you're going to play players that are much better, much higher overall than a Chris Middleton or a CJ McCollum. And that's going to become an issue for this Milwaukee Bucks team. You have to play at that fast style of pace if that's how you're going to play defense moving forward here. You have to score as many points as possible, as quickly as possible. That's how the Indiana Pacers dragged themselves to the NBA Finals last season, is by scoring as fast as possible and hoping that your energy on defense is enough from that point on.
So do me a favor. Look up and see where the Pacers were ranked defensively in the regular season last year. Terrell the Northside, who called in earlier, I guess I don't have a rule against calling and texting. So
Trell found the loophole.
Yeah.
Trell's the Louisville of WRSRN callers.
So Trell used the Nicolay Lautaka text line. Obviously, they're trying to be Indiana and kind of copycat the pace and offense, but they have a better lead player in Giannis. Honestly, this team is deep, and legitimately, if health is not compromised, they are a dark horse in the Eastern Conference to make the finals. Trell from the north side. I agree with you. I have them, and I had them in the finals yesterday when we made our predictions. But again, it is all about being healthy because depth-wise, they cannot afford to lose Giannis, Miles Turner, or KPJ for any length of time because that would be a major blow to this team.
Indiana was 15th or 17th overall in the league last year in total points given up per game. They gave 115 per game. And then last year they were 23rd in opponent field goal percentage with a 47.4 mark.
Got another one here from the 424. Deer Nation already all in on this Giannis Turner front court duo, dominating all season out of the Eastern Conference. I don't see any reason why they can't. And it's going to be fun to see how teams change, adapt, and defend this team differently as the season goes on because people are going to adjust. Like, make no doubt, they are going to adjust. The other part about this, and Tommy Wirtz and I were talking about this off the air earlier before his Mason Crosby show with Mitch Leonard Ellis at noon today, was they still don't have a legitimate big behind Miles Turner. That still doesn't exist. And like previous versions of this team, Bobby Portis is not a 5. I hate to break it to everybody. He's not a center. And Bobby Portis is running out there playing center. Bobby Portis didn't have a great game last night, right? But that's okay. Like, we've seen this before with Bobby Portis. You know what you get. So it's okay that he didn't play all that well. But again, as far as rim protector and guys that can defend the rim, you don't have another rim protector right now behind Miles Turner if Bobby Portis is going to be the guy that you're going to rely on to be that backup 5. And you start talking about defensive issues with this team, that's going to be one of the defensive issues with this team for certain. Nicolay Lautaka text line, what you learned last night about this Bucks game, 414-677-1250, 414-677-1250. Trav and Brown Deer, you're next on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's. What's up, Trav?
How's it going, guys?
Good.
It was a W, I know, but it's the first game, so I like the Turner, more energy than Brooke,
Yeah.
I love Brooke, but especially, the 3-pointers, like you said, but he drew, when he stepped out, he went right by him, and you got to respect that, but just everything, Chris, yeah, I lost my. Yeah.
That's all right, Trav. I get to that point too, buddy.
You were on a roll there for a little bit, Trav.
He was. And don't forget, when the Bucks win, you win at Wendy's. After every Bucks win, stop by any participating Wisconsin Wendy's for a free small vanilla or chocolate frosty classic. No purchase necessary. That means right now you could go to Wendy's and get a free frosty. This offer is only good for 24 hours after a win. So you have to act fast and get the free small frosty classic at Wendy's. Again, it's a free frosty. Why wouldn't you go get a free frosty? You literally just pull up to the drive-thru or go inside and be like, hey, the Bucks won last night. I like to get a free frosty, and it really should be just that simple. The other part of what last night was all about was Chris Middleton getting the video tribute and getting the love from the Bucks at that game. Chris Middleton walked into the arena. Did you see everybody lined up and clapping for Chris Middleton as he was walking through? I thought that was pretty cool. Middleton talks about the video tribute.
It definitely exceeded. I mean, I try to get not too caught up in the moment, but like she said, the standing ovations is something that's special. I feel like that, something I really didn't anticipate too much. And to get that type of love and appreciation from the fans, man, I think it's cool. I mean, I think we all picture ourselves as kids, waving to, 20,000 people. And I finally got that moment today, so that was pretty cool.
Did you take a second to look around and see all the 22 jerseys around there?
Yeah, I did. It was cool. Very special. There was still a couple 34s. But nah, I mean, I definitely appreciate, the 22s. I think words really can't describe that part, that people, really spend their money on buying my jersey and wearing it when I'm on a different team and wearing it, to school, work, out to eat, wherever. So that's something I think my family definitely appreciates and loves. And I wish my father could could have been here and seen this tonight, because I know he would have loved it also.
It's pretty cool, man. You win a championship as Packer players from the 90s. You own this state forever. Like, that's just how it goes. And I'm telling you, anybody that was on that Bucs championship team, like Chris Middleton, is going to own it whenever they come back. Middleton wants to come back to do autograph signings. Middleton wants to come back to do charity outings. Whatever that Chris Middleton wants to do when his playing career is over, he will be treated like royalty when he comes back to the state of Wisconsin, because he helped to bring the Bucs an NBA championship. And those are the perks that go along with it. And as I've said before, I think if the Milwaukee Brewers were ever to win one, you could take that and multiply it by 1 million as far as how Brewer fans would be treated going forward. All right, let's see. We got another call here. Let's go to Turner, south side of Milwaukee. You're next here on Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's on the Nicolay Law Talk and Text line. What's up, Turner?
Hey, what's up, Sparky? Hey, I think this Bucs team is super dangerous. I think this is the best team that we have around Giannis in a long time. And I get your fear with the threes, but I think that opens up, like you were playing on the clips, like Miles Turner pump faking and dunking. And then he had 5 assists last night. I think him and Giannis can work inside, a nice little high-low game. And then, like, with the Celtics, they would die by the three. But we have Giannis who, unlike Tatum, he won't settle for threes, you would hope. He might settle for mid-ranges, but he can beat you up down low, and I just think we got a deeper team. And, yeah, I don't know. I think they're dangerous.
I think the other part about this is, the A.J. Greens of the world, the Gary Trents, those guys need to have good seasons. They cannot afford to have 1 or 2 of their role players not shoot the 3-ball well this season, Turner, because if 1 or 2 don't have good years from 3, it could really harpoon this whole team.
Yeah, I agree. There's just so many guys. You got Torian Prince, though.
Yep.
Like A.J. Green, Gary Trent. Like, it could be anybody's night. Bobby even barely played last night. He can come in one game and just demolish. So I'm excited to see him against the Raptors with all the length. Same with the Hawks, too. Like, games like that, starting 3 guards, I think it'll be interesting. I'm excited to watch that.
All right. Awesome, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for the call. I got people on the Nicolay Talk and Text line talking about Traven Brundier. What are we doing? Oh, we're back to this again. This is texter on caller crime. Is that what we have? So I literally have a one from the 414. Sparky, I'm so bleeping happy you're back. I haven't heard Trav from Brown Deer in a minute.
Love me some Trav. Yeah. I'm with that. I love me some Trav. I'm with that.
Then Dominic, he texts in from the 262 and says, what did I learn? Still not interested in the Bucs or in Trav. See that? I'm just saying. One person, oh man, Trav and Brown Deer, yeah, I'm jacked. Dominic's like, screw Dominic.
He was on a
screw
roll,
the
man.
Bucs. I got no interest in either one of them.
He was on a roll today.
You can't please everybody in this business. You can't please everybody in this business. Things that we miss on today's show coming up next. You want to stay tuned for that. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Sparky, yeah. It's Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. See Sparky Fifer here. Those of you listening around the state, thank you so much. WNFL in Green Bay, 99.7 FM. Wausau, 93.9 The Game. Duluth Superior, 710 The Game. And, of course, in Milwaukee on the Fan, 1250 AM and 105.7 FM. Appreciate you all for checking us out here today. Don't forget, coming up 5 to 6, Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up with Tommy Wirtz. He takes you up until 6 o'clock. And then tomorrow morning, back at it again, 6 a.m. inside Wisconsin Sports with Josh and Trevor. Takes you to 9 to noon with John Kuhn and Rami Makloff. Noon to 2, the Mason Crosby Show with Mitch Thunder Nellis from noon to 2, brought to you by Verizon. And then we're right back at it again tomorrow. A lot of Packers and Steelers talk tomorrow on a Football Friday. Plus, we'll have fantasy football every Friday at 4:20 on this show with Joe Bartel from RotoWire Fantasy Sports. So if you are a fantasy football player, get your questions ready. We do it every Friday at 4:20. Plus, Ryan Wood joins us on Fridays at 2:40. Packers beat writer for the Green Bay Press-Gazette. So lots of Packers and Steelers talk coming up tomorrow here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network. Things that we missed on today's show. Aaron Rodgers met with the media today in Green Bay via Zoom and talked about his time in Green Bay.
Whether I was riding in the back of a truck or riding on that silly golf cart that D-Bot gave me, we were always messing around, having a good time. Those are some of the most fun. I mean, going way back, we had a crazy crew. I mean, some of the shenanigans and pranks that me and Brett Good pulled on some of the rookies over at St. Norbert's, that the constant battle between Flynn and Graham Harrell and TJ Lang and Josh Sitton, what they would do on the road, it got so crazy. Some of the pranks they were pulling that Mike at one point said, cut that out, no more of that stuff, because they were doing some wild stuff. But it's that stuff that I remember, the plane flights. There was a time back then we used to fly on a plane at 8 first class seats, and that was like, Ted and Bob Harlan into Mark and the brass and a couple of coaches, and all of us were in the 3x3 seats in the back. And we had this thing for a while where people just start throwing pillows and blankets at each other, like when the plane was landed. Guys that were sleeping, if you were sleeping. Larry McCarron can probably attest to this because he was always sitting like in a row in front of me, and there'd be guys like flinging the wrapped up blankets and rolling them up in the pillows at people and waking. There's always like some of the media was in front of us and PR and community relations. They'd all be on the same plane, and they were catching strays on the plane sometimes. So those things are great. It's like. It was such a tight-knit group for so long there. I outlasted most of them, but it's fun. That's why I feel so good about my time there, because damn near everything great in my life is because of, my football career. My football career starts and will end one day with Green Bay. So I got a lot of love for all those memories and a lot of great friends that I still carry with me to this day.
I've been doing this for a while. And that right there was about as in-depth as you got as to behind the scenes of the Green Bay Packers. Brett Favre obviously had his fun too when he was a member of the Green Bay Packers. And everybody got to witness that because Brett was always out, whether it be at a house party, whether it be a gallivanting around the bars and the restaurant scene or whatever. Everybody saw Brett out. Everybody saw Brett out in Green Bay. Everybody saw Brett out in Milwaukee. Everybody saw Brett out in Madison. Wherever Brett was, everybody knew that Brett was out doing his thing, partying and having a bunch of fun. And he wasn't by himself. He had his guys rolling with him as well. Rodgers, obviously not the same personality, not the same dude that was going to be going out and doing all of that stuff. So when you hear some of this stuff from Aaron Rodgers about the fun stuff that was happening on the plane, some of the tricks that were being played, McCarthy got so mad that said, that's enough, no more, this is getting out of control. That's good stuff. That's fun stuff. And now to see Rodgers talking about, kind of wanting in Green Bay, come back, sign that one-day deal. My question in all of this is, how visible do you think Aaron Rodgers will be when his playing career is done as far as doing events in Green Bay after his playing career is done, right? Leroy Butler obviously still lives in the state and still does stuff all over the state with his anti-bullying campaign and so forth. Gilbert Brown is constantly back in the state doing autograph signings and doing different stuff around the state of Wisconsin. Santana Dotson is another one. For a long time was constantly always back. William Henderson would be back. Dorsey Levens, a lot of those guys would be back doing different things. I just wonder from that championship team with Rodgers in 11, how many of those guys will still be visible and hanging out and doing stuff when they're in their 50s or in their 60s? Will they still be back doing their things? Because those Bart Starr Packers, most of those guys were doing autograph signings and visible within the state to the day they died. Most of them were still always out and doing different things. I'm curious to see that 2011 team, how many of those guys come back or how many of those guys you just never see again. And they live wherever they live, Florida, California, wherever they are. And they just don't come back after that unless there's like a reunion or something. But other than that, you don't see them.
I feel like it just doesn't matter as much. I think back then, even in the early 2000s, guys weren't switching teams nearly as often as you see them switching teams now. It wasn't nearly as much about the money in a lot of these situations as it is now.
Yeah.
I think, there's a lot of players in this Packers organization that have been a part of in the past 5 years that do owe a lot to Green Bay. But really, it's kind of Aaron Rodgers. That's the only guy I can think of that is going to stick around like that may, and he's not even going to be around like that. You know that. It's Aaron Rodgers. He'll be off in a cave somewhere. So it's going to be a really weird situation to see which guys do. I think other organizations have some better chances just with the type of personalities.
I mean, if you just look at it from what we have here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network, Mason Crosby is still involved doing a radio show.
Yep.
John Kuhn is a sideline reporter for them. And I think eventually, maybe he replaces Larry McCarron as an analyst at some point. He's doing a radio show here on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
It won't be the Aaron Rodgers and the Leroy Butlers anymore. It'll be more like Mason Crosby and John Kuhn, who are playing positions that aren't as known, but are still coming back to give some love to the organization that gave them love.
Yeah. And I hope that he is still actively involved in the community. The Favre thing ended horribly. And there was a lot of anger and distaste between everybody involved and him for a decade. I don't feel like that's necessarily going to be the case with Aaron Rodgers. They've been doing that softball tournament. And now Mason has the brouhaha that he did in Beloit this last summer. And he'll probably do again coming up this next summer. But to have Rodgers come back and do some type of a charity event or something once a year, whatever that is, the Aaron Rodgers golf tournament, the Aaron Rodgers softball game, the Aaron Rodgers whatever, I think would be cool to allow people to still have that contact and connection with him one way or the other at the end of the day. So I'm hoping that's how this all plays out. Hey, thanks to everybody that was on the show today. Really do appreciate it. Amy Dash, our legal insider, she joined us earlier today. Follow her on Twitter at Amy Dash TV, talking about the FBI and all the arrests made and the NBA players involved, the poker, the games being affected there. Chauncey Billups, former Buck Damon Jones, Terry Rozier. Wild story on that one. Operation Royal Flush by the FBI. That's what they deemed it. Tim Dillard, FanDuel Sports Network, Wisconsin Brewers analyst, joined us. Brandon Sprague from Dirt and Sprague on 105.1 The Fan. He was on in the 3 o'clock hour. He was really good talking about the Portland situation. Coming up next, Tommy Wirtz, Wisconsin Sports Wrap-Up from 5 until 6. Thanks for listening to Wisconsin Sports Daily, served up by Wendy's, live from the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network studios, powered by the Potawatomi Sportsbook. Have a good night, y'all. Toodles!